Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Hello, everyone. I hope you're well today. Thank you so much for joining me. This episode is going to be focused on repurposing your content with a focus on fiction rather than nonfiction. 2 episodes ago, we focused on nonfiction, and there are valuable tips in there as well, even if you're a fiction writer. So I would encourage you to take a listen to that. But today, our focus is going to be on fiction. The first thing I want to touch on is the importance of calls to action. You may think of these as primarily for nonfiction writers, but it's the same across the board. Whatever you're writing, whatever your content is, you have some desire for your potential customer or your customer to take some next action with you. So the first task is understanding what it is that you want them to do next. Let's take a very simple example. If you've only written one book, and let's say you have it in print, ebook, and audiobook, and I were to say to you, what action would you want somebody to take when they come to your website? And you might say, I just want them to buy my book. And you probably just want them to buy it in whichever format they're most happy with, or whichever one that they want. Okay, are you saying that you want them to buy one format of your book and then go away and you never want to hear from them again? Is that really what you want to have happen? Probably not. Probably, at the very least, you'd like them to write a review. So requesting from your listener that they write a review of the audiobook that they just listened to is an excellent call to action. Another potential call to action might be to get an additional format of the book or to purchase it as a gift for someone that they think will really enjoy it. Or to contact you with questions or comments that they might have. Or to participate in some online quiz or game that you have created that relates to your book. These are just a few potential calls to action that you might utilize as you think about your client value journey. Those are terms. The client value journey is something that many nonfiction authors are thinking about, but it also pertains to you as a fiction author. Let's say, for example, you have more than one book. Maybe you have a series. In that case, a great call to action would be to get the next book. And an excellent call to action almost any time is come visit you at your website. If you're very active on social media, you may want your listeners to follow you on social media. But the best place for them to link with you there is by going to your website and connecting in that way, because you are almost certain to have more available to them, and you're able to keep your links updated and accurate, even if something changes in social media. What? Yes, I know. Stuff happens all the time on the different platforms. So by having your information just kept current in one central location, you can direct people there and keep it all current. Okay, let's get into a little more of the meat of the repurposing your content as a fiction author. I want to also call out to you, want to suggest to you that you listen to the previous episode of this podcast, episode 66, where we talk about doing a bonus author interview because that will create a lot of potential content that you can repurpose in so many different ways on social media, on your website, in your audiobook itself, in podcasting scenarios. So I wanted to call that out. One of the first things to be thinking about when you're looking at the repurposing of your content is this is all very much related to finding your audience as well. When you repurpose, for example, audio only, and you repurpose it into video, then you're reaching, and you put it on YouTube, you are then in front of potentially the millions of people who are on YouTube every day. You become available, whereas before you were not, right? So we want to think about the ways in which you're repurposing your content is actually helping you find your audience because you're going where they are. One of the most important things you can do as an author is understand your audience as much as you can about them. You want to know where they're hanging out. What social media platforms are they on? What magazines are they reading? Where are they? Where are they networking? All those kinds of questions provide valuable information and make it easier for you to find them and for them to find you. Keep in mind that your audience is looking for you. This is not just you trying to find, people to convince people to read or listen to your content. Your audience is out there. They are in a search for you, and it's important, in order for them to find you, that you help them in that search process. One of the ways that we most commonly think about that, helping them in their search process, is the use of keywords and hashtags. They're tools to help your audience find you and for you to find your audience. Think of you and your potential audience as, out there in this vast world, searching, and you're using these different terms, and when they line up, that's when that connection happens, right? And because we have many different platforms, different ways of doing that search, conducting that search for the information, the content that we really want, we're looking in a variety of places. Some people are looking on YouTube. Some are searching on Instagram. Some are on Facebook, so there are many different social media platforms. Some are surfing the web, looking at websites. Some are listening to podcasts. Some are listening to audiobooks. Some are searching in Amazon and looking for print and ebook. And some are going to the library. Some are going to other booksellers. The thing is, they're all over the place, but they're all still looking for you. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily show up in all those places where your audience might be. But if you never show up in a particular area where a lot of your audience is, then you're making it harder for them and they might not find you. And this is, in fact, one of the great reasons why repurposing your content can be so helpful in this process. Let's talk about audio content. One of the simplest ways of repurposing content is taking audio, adding visuals, even if it's a single slide, like an audiogram, for example. An audiogram is a single image video with a short clip from your audiobook. Easy to create and something that you can post in many different places. So you're creating this asset, this marketing asset that you can use in many, many places. That is valuable. For fiction writers, if you're not blogging, but that sounds like something you might want to do if you could figure out what to blog about, think about things like backstory for your characters, the process of writing, what inspired different scenes, what people inspired characters that you wrote about. That kind of thing is really interesting to your followers and can also help create visibility for those people who are out there reading blogs. Podcasting is also a great way to get the word out. Lots of podcasters out there are looking for people that they want to interview that are interesting, that their audience will find interesting. If you have a clear idea of who your audience is, then figuring out which podcasts might be a good fit for you to be interviewed on, then you're a step ahead. So I want to encourage you again, think about who's your audience and then use that information and imagine that you're that person and go look for podcasts that you would be interested in and see what comes up. Then when you're pitching yourself as a potential guest on someone's podcast, make sure that you have listened to at least one, ideally more, of their episodes and find something that you find really engaging about that. Comment on it, and also let the podcast host help them understand how and why you think your content, you being a guest on their show, would be appealing to their following. Because every podcast host who does interviews is looking for the kind of guests that their listeners are going to really love. They're going to get really excited about, and they're going to tell people about it. And of course, they're trying to build their following. So when you are a guest on someone's podcast, you want to make sure that you are helping to promote that episode. Get the word out in social media and whatever way possible to the people that follow you. And I'm going to wrap this episode up for today. I wanted to share with you about a new marketing option that we are providing at Pro Audio Voices for our clients. I've mentioned now in a couple episodes these audiograms. These are like single image videos that are very short, typically about 15 to 30 seconds long, and easy to post on many different social media platforms. We are now offering audiograms, the creation of those in one-off sets of 5 or a monthly subscription of 5 every month. And they can be from a single audiobook or they can be from multiple titles. If that's something that might be of interest to you or you'd like to learn more, you can find that at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/audio, audio all being in caps, and grams. Grams is all lowercase. So audio in caps, grams, grams in lowercase. We are partway through a website upgrade, and that information about audiograms is not yet available on our website, but we have announced it to our customer base. So they are available to other authors, even those that we did not produce their audiobooks. So I just wanted to let you know about that program. If you have questions, please reach out to us at admin@proaudiovoices.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you'll join me for the next Audiobook Connection episode. Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.